Hey guys, welcome back to this channel. Now, in this video, I'm going to talk about state level adoption of Bitcoin. Now, this is a really big deal, but the thing is that everybody's freaking out so much because they're just looking at the price. And yeah, the price has been, it's been consolidating. I wouldn't say we're in a bear market. We're just consolidating. Everyone's freaking out and they're ignoring the really big news that's going on around. So it's important to focus on the fundamentals of what's going on the micro and macro levels, rather than just looking at the price of Bitcoin as a gauge for whether or not things are progressing. Now, having been in the space since 2017, which doesn't really sound like a long time, but in Bitcoin years, it's kind of like veteran level. Back then, the idea of, governments, getting involved with Bitcoin at a high level, it was a prophecy that everyone believed would eventually happen, but it was so far fetched at the time. Still, we kind of acknowledged it as some kind of like Satoshi prophecy, that would, I guess it could take place, but it's just, it's the idea of, $1 million Bitcoin. For us, that's kind of like actually within our grasp. But back then, back in 2017 and before that, these things were just kind of like wild, predictions, prophecies. They were kind of wild. But the reality is, now the highest state in the land, the US government, is getting directly involved with Bitcoin in some pretty serious ways. So the first thing I want to talk about is a guy called Howard Lutnick. So Howard Lutnick is the CEO of, I think it's a trading firm, or I can't remember exactly, but it's called Cantor Fitzgerald, and he is now an advisor to Trump, and he's kind of probably the more important advisors to Trump when it comes to crypto affairs, and that's because he's on the board of Tether, and he's been a strong friend to Tether for a while. He's been helping to get rid of the FUD in regards to Tether's liquidity, because there's always been a lot of concern about whether Tether's actually got the funds. Howard Lutnick has actually been responsible for helping alleviate those concerns, and yeah, he's done a great service to Tether, and now he's essentially in the cabinet as far as I'm concerned. Now, this is a big deal because the U.S. Senate is taking steps to advance a stable coin bill, and it's no doubt thanks to this gentleman here, Howard Lutnick. So the first committee approval of a stablecoin bill in this new congressional session now moves the so-called Genius Act towards the floor. So the TLDR is the US Senate Banking Committee cleared a bill to regulate stablecoin issuers. With that first committee approval, stablecoin oversight is a significant step closer to law in the US, though it still needs to make a similar advance in the House of Representatives, yada, yada, yada. Now, also coming from 2017, something we couldn't also have imagined is that Bitcoin maxis like myself would be cheering on institutional adoption and governmental adoption. That is also something that wasn't on the bingo. Well, it was on the bingo cards back in 2017, but I mean, it would have been a wild bet. Now it's something that's happening. It's something we're all cheering for. But why should you get excited for stablecoin regulation? Well, the thing is about stablecoins, I mean, maybe something you might be aware of is that a lot of like traders will pay attention to stablecoin inflows and outflows. Like if Tether prints like, $1 million dollars worth of Tether, or billions of dollars worth of Tether, that tends to be a very bullish sign because you've got all these funds in Tether. Like, what is the immediate destination for Tether, especially if it's being printed out of thin air? It's got one destination, that's Bitcoin. I mean, I guess you could say it could go into altcoins, whatever, but the point is, this is money that's going into the crypto market. So the more money that goes from Tether, the more funds that go into Tether, the more that the price of crypto is going to go up. So people that want to get a good indication for a long, they might just follow it's like a bot that indicates what's going on with Tether. That every time Tether prints money, they're gonna long it, because again, at some stage those funds are bound for Bitcoin. It's a one-way train. Now, the reason why it's a big deal that there's going to be regulation is because it's just going to allow stablecoin issuers like Tether, like USDC, to be able to have better banking, like a better banking back end. So if they've got more access to different banks, and their banks are a little more reliable partners, then there's going to be a lot more confidence in the system, and it's going to give them it's going to allow more and more funds to flow into this banking to tether system, right? And that's going to just allow more stablecoins to pop up, and it's just going to allow for more stablecoin issuers, right? So yeah, there's tether, there's USDC, but there's all these other people out there that want to issue their own stablecoins, and because there's a governmental framework for that. It's just going to make it easier for those stable coins, those new stablecoin issuers, to get onboarded with a bank and then start taking on, customer deposits or deposits of their own, maybe from investors, and then pump that into the stablecoin market, which again ultimately leads to Bitcoin. So this is a really, really, really big deal. Now, before I go on, I just want to give a shout out to a few things that I'm working with right now. I've got local coin swap here. I've got HODL HODL. I've got BitValve. These are peer-to-peer cryptocurrency exchanges that you can use to buy cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, Ethereum, USDT. You can do so without KYC. So the problem with centralized exchanges is that every time you go on there, when you go on to sign up for the first time, you have to give KYC. You're going to have to give your passport. You're going to have to give proof of residence, proof of income. There's all these like very intrusive things that are required from you that isn't really required from you on peer-to-peer crypto exchanges. Because when you're in a peer-to-peer crypto exchange, you're buying and selling directly from another person, and that person doesn't require this kind of information. So you can buy crypto without KYC. You can also use a number of different payment methods to buy crypto. So on a normal centralized exchange, you've only got bank transfers, whereas on these peer-to-peer crypto exchange websites, you could use TransferWise, you can use Revolut, you can use cash, right? That's a really cool thing. Like you can send cash by mail, you can do like a cash meetup in your city. There's cardless cash deposits and ATMs. So if you're interested, you can use my referral link in the description below. You can check that out. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the strategic Bitcoin reserve. Now, this has happened on the 7th of March. Just a quick rundown. President Donald Trump signed an executive order to establish a strategic Bitcoin reserve. The initiative aims to manage Bitcoin holdings acquired through forfeiture by the federal government, creating a digital asset stockpile akin to a digital Fort Knox. This move fulfills the campaign promise and positions the US as a leader in digital currency strategy, though market reactions have been mixed. And that last sentence can't be overstated. I mean, despite this enormous event taking place in the history of Bitcoin, look at the markets. I mean, they haven't really reacted positively. I assume that this was a sell the news event because when Trump announced this, I think it was like a few weeks after his assassination attempt, he went to a Bitcoin conference, which was a huge deal to have a presidential runner-up go to an event and basically make a bunch of bold statements about what he may or may not do with Bitcoin. But one of the big speculations was that he would implement a Bitcoin strategic reserve out of the Bitcoin that was essentially seized by forced forfeiture of criminal cartels or whatever it is. And that was a huge deal. That was something that led to that was a kind of part of the groundswell that led to Bitcoin, going to, up to $108,000. And, now that it's actually, signed into law, I guess it's been a sell the news event. But again, I like to remind you that news tends to follow like price. It's not really the other way around. So this wasn't really big news. Typically, the news you'll find would be kind of negative these days just because the price is going down. So you generally speaking want to avoid looking at the price if you want to get an idea about what's going on, because when the price goes down, it's not clear that there's something bad happening. Maybe there's actually something good happening, and when the price is going up, it's not clear that something good is happening. Maybe something bad is happening. So try not to focus on the price too much. But when this news came out, I wasn't really that interested, and the reason why was because I was of the assumption that all this really meant was that the US isn't going to sell off their stockpiles of Bitcoin, and they've got a lot of Bitcoin, and there was always FUD about, at some stage the government might just start selling this off, right? Germany did that. A number of countries, sell this off, and they use it to fund, government efforts, government payroll for 2 seconds, because $15 billion for the government is it's 2 seconds of payroll for whatever random crap they're spending on. But I believe that I have been mistaken. Let me show you why. So this is from the official whitehouse.gov. It's outlining what's going on with the U.S. digital asset stockpile. If you read here, the Secretaries of Treasury and Commerce are authorized to develop budget-neutral strategies for acquiring additional Bitcoin, provided that those strategies impose no incremental cost on American taxpayers. Now, this is what I think everyone deep down wanted in the Bitcoin community, except no one really believed that this was actually likely to happen. So what this means, translated, is that there is a roadmap for the government actually acquiring additional Bitcoin in the, as opposed to just holding on to what they've already got, which is not a small amount. I mean, I think they got at least 15 billion, but in terms of like the overall size of the US government, it's pretty small. And now they're talking about actually getting more. And what's really cool is, they take note that they're not going to do so in a way that is going to be costly for taxpayers. Like they're not going to be dipping into the treasury to get more. I'm sure there's different ways they can get some more. Maybe the US goes full war with the drug cartels and basically just tries to take all their Bitcoin. Who knows what it is, but they are going to be finding ways to get more Bitcoin, and this is a pretty big deal. As we can see here, this is what they already have. So, I'm not really good with so many digits, but I assume this is around $17.8 billion. As you can see, they've got 190 or almost 200,000 Bitcoin. They've got 100 million Tether. They've got 56,000 ETH. They've got quite a lot, and just guaranteeing that they're not going to just dump this on the market and sell it straight away. I mean, that's already a big deal, but the idea that they're going to acquire more, I mean, it's a big deal. I mean, it's definitely not small. And before I sign off, there's just a little thought experiment I want you to go through with me, just based on this Twitter post. March Bitcoin is $80,000. I'll be honest, I think this is real cheap. I think that's very cheap. I'm excited about Bitcoin being this low because I can buy more. But let's look at what's actually going on. So America buys 50,000 Bitcoin, not $50,000, 50,000 Bitcoin. It's kind of speculation, but I think that's not that absurd. I mean, MicroStrategy is buying, tons all the time. If some institution can do it, the American government can do it without really breaking a sweat. Czech Republic buys 70,000 Bitcoin. This is just based on an article here. Czech central bank to consider up to 7 billion in Bitcoin reserve. Then America buys another 100,000. El Salvador hits 7,000 Bitcoin. Speculations arise Putin is buying, which I remember, reading about this a few months ago. I think that's already kind of on the horizon. Just to cut back real quick to the stablecoin situation, I didn't mention the fact that stablecoin usage is really big in Russia because of the sanctions. So crypto has basically become a way for, a lifeline for them. So on the different polarities of the world, East and West, I think both sides have their own unique reasons to start stacking stablecoins or Bitcoins. And again, just to reiterate, the reason why stacking stablecoins is a big deal is because stablecoins is a one-way route, back into the wider crypto world. So that's just going to pump everything up. America is now 1/3 of the way to having 1 million coins total. Another small country announces 3,000 Bitcoin to buy. So when El Salvador announced that they were going to adopt Bitcoin as a major fiat currency, none of us could have expected that it would have reached America, this soon. I mean, I'm stunned by this development, and it's good. So if we've got some obscure banana republic adopting it, and then 4 years later we've got America adopting it, it's only a matter of time before every country in between those two. I'm not talking geographically. I'm talking like socioeconomically, everything from as rich as America to as poor as El Salvador. I mean, it's just going to make sense for them to start buying. I mean, I consider this to be some kind of arms race to develop in the future. So let's continue in the post. Now it is June and Bitcoin is 120K. You've got 3 to 5 countries making headlines. Retail sentiment begins to spike. I think this is just going to happen at some stage. Like, forget the price action. retail sentiment is going to come back. That's the oh crap moment where financial advisors realize they should have 0.5% of clients' funds in Bitcoin after they start asking why they have none. Countries have almost 1 million Bitcoin, and anytime that could go to 3 million months to within months to a year. Then the advisors do the math and realize if everyone took a 0.5% allocation of Bitcoin, the price would be 400,000. Then they start to wonder why stop at 0.5%. Now, I'm actually not going to keep reading this. I mean, I love this opium. It's not copium because I think this is going to happen, right? I don't even want to get too excited. This is cool. Yeah, I think, Bitcoin could absolutely get to 5 million, right? But let's not talk about too far into the future. A lot of you are looking at the price and like, what's the copium here? I just want an excuse to hold on to my bags for the next year. Yeah, I think it's completely reasonable for Bitcoin to get to 500,000 to 400K this year. And all you have to do is look at this simple reasoning here. Then the advisors do the math and realize if everyone took a 0.5% allocation of Bitcoin, the price would be 400,000. I think it's so reasonable at this stage, especially with institutional adoption, with the Bitcoin ETFs. It's very doable at this stage. So I think this is like a very reasonable outcome to assume at this stage. So guys, if you like this video, make sure to subscribe. Check out my referral links in the description down below if you want to sign up, get a discount on trading fees, and I'll see you next time.